Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with a truth so few dare to live. The man who can control his reaction controls his destiny. In this life, you will be tested. Not once, not twice, but constantly. Life will come at you with insults, with failure, with betrayal and disappointment. It will push you to respond, to lash out, to break down. But I tell you now, learn to act as if nothing bothers you. Why? Because your emotional control is the lock on the vault of your potential. And every time you react in anger and fear and panic, you hand someone else the key. When you walk into a room and wear composure like a tailored suit, the world sees power, even if you're uncertain inside. Act as if nothing bothers you, not to pretend, but to program your mind. Because what you act, you eventually become. The man who can stay calm when the storm comes is the man who commands the ship. He does not shout at the waves. He doesn't panic at the wind. He adjusts the sails. He knows that he alone is responsible for where the vessel is headed. Too many of us think calmness is a gift, that peace is something to be given. Let me correct that. Peace is a conquest. You must take it. You must train for it like a warrior trains for battle. You must practice silence when provoked, practice patience when challenged, and practice detachment when the world demands your reaction. Every time you act as if nothing bothers you, you are telling the universe, I am in command. Not my emotions, not my fears, not my critics, me. This is not about being fake, this is about being free. When you choose to respond with grace instead of fury, with stillness instead of chaos, you are not avoiding the fight, you are winning the battle within. And I say to you, he who wins within, wins without. So the next time trouble knocks on your door, open it with a smile. Let the world wonder how you stay so calm. Let them be confused by your confidence. Because you've learned the secret. Your power lies in how little the noise controls you. Walk through life unshaken and watch how the world reshapes around you. Thank you. True strength begins when you no longer react impulsively to life's challenges. That statement is not merely a clever phrase. It is a principle of power. Most individuals go through life believing that strength is about dominance, aggression, or brute force. They see it as the ability to strike back, to yell louder, to win the argument. But that kind of strength is fleeting. It burns hot and fast, and then it burns out. The deeper, more enduring strength lies in mastering your emotional responses. Imagine a man who, when insulted, smiles. Not a sarcastic smile, but one born of... He knows something the insulter does not. He knows that the person trying to provoke him is seeking control. Not a fight, not justice, but control over his state of mind. And the moment he reacts with anger, he surrenders that control. But when he chooses calm, he does more than walk away. He rises above. That is mastery. The ability to restrain yourself in moments of intense emotion is one of the greatest demonstrations of power. Not because you're suppressing your humanity, but because you're elevating it. You're choosing not to let outside conditions govern your inner state. That kind of control is what separates the ordinary from the exceptional. Anyone can raise their voice when offended, but it takes true discipline to keep it steady. Anyone can punch a wall when frustrated, but the one who sits still and channels the energy into strategy, that's the man who wins. Most people are ruled by their emotions. They react to bad news, to criticism, to failure, with immediate bursts of fear or rage. They justify these reactions as being real or honest. But honesty without discipline is chaos. A real man does not give his power to every mood swing. He does not let every external irritation hijack his inner world. Instead, he stands firm like a mountain in a storm. The winds howl, the rain pours, but the mountain does not move. That is not because the mountain is unaware of the storm. It simply knows it was built to endure it. Acting unbothered is not about ignoring your feelings or denying reality. It's about choosing where your energy goes. When you learn to hold yourself back, to take a breath when you want to scream, to observe rather than react, you are building the kind of strength that lasts. You are teaching yourself that not every battle needs your participation, and not every provocation deserves your attention. This kind of mastery is not achieved overnight. It is the result of daily discipline, repeated reflection, and intentional growth. You must train your mind the way a warrior trains his body. You must rehearse silence until it becomes your first instinct. You must learn to observe your emotions rise and not ride them like wild horses, but rein them in and guide them where you want to go. You see, every time you resist an emotional impulse, you gain a little more control. Every time you respond with thought rather than impulse, you grow stronger. That strength compounds over time, and eventually, you reach a place where external events lose their grip on your peace. People notice it. They feel it in your presence. You walk into a room and bring a quiet confidence that can't be faked. You don't react wildly, and they wonder why. It's because you have already fought the battle within, and you've won. And make no mistake, this is a battle. The fight to master your emotions is one of the hardest you will ever face. It's not loud. It's not glorious, it doesn't come with applause, but it is the foundation of every other victory. Because when you can master your reactions, you become unshakable. And when you are unshakable, the world no longer dictates your course. You do. Now that is where real strength begins. Control the inner world to conquer the outer. This is a law not taught in schools, yet it governs the life of every successful individual. The average person believes the world must change before they can feel peace, that the circumstances around them must improve before they can feel joy, that people must treat them better before they can feel respect. But those who rise above mediocrity understand a truth that shifts everything. The outside world is merely a reflection of the inner state. If you are in chaos within, you will create chaos without. If you are calm within, you can face any storm and still steer the ship. Most people live in reverse. They wait for the job promotion to feel fulfilled. They wait for the apology to feel peace. They wait for the world to cooperate. But the world is not obligated to accommodate anyone's emotions. It's not designed to hand out perfect conditions. And those who rely on the outside to feel strong inside will always be slaves to circumstances they cannot control. The man who controls his inner world is not immune to pain, but he does not let pain define him. He feels it, understands it, but does not let it choose his path. He faces disappointment, but does not collapse. He sees betrayal, but does not become bitter. Why? Because he has built a fortress within, brick by brick, thought by thought, discipline upon discipline. He has learned to command his thoughts, to quiet his doubts, to hold his vision in place even when reality does not yet reflect it. You must understand that everything you truly want begins inside you. Confidence is not given, it is developed. Peace is not found, it is chosen. Clarity does not arrive from the outside, it emerges from within. When the mind is focused and the heart is steady. The greatest advantage you can have in this world is a mind that does not panic, a heart that does not waver, and a spirit that does not surrender to noise. It is not enough to read books or attend seminars if your inner world remains disorganized. It is not enough to set goals if you carry around internal doubts and unresolved fear. Your thoughts are your command center. Your emotions are your fuel. If you allow fear to dominate, that is the direction your life will take. If you nurture clarity, that is what you will attract. The man who wins in business, in relationships, in life, It is not luck that guides him. It is his ability to remain composed, to stay focused, to return to stillness when everything else is loud. Control over the inner world means choosing thoughts deliberately. It means being aware of what you focus on, how you speak to yourself, what kind of mental images you allow to live in your mind. You become the guardian of your attention. You learn to interrupt negative patterns. You learn to step back from the noise and say, no, I decide how I feel. I decide how I respond. When you train yourself to hold peace within, you gain leverage over the outer world. The world will still test you. People will still doubt you. Problems will still arise, but none of it will shake you, because the true battlefield has already been won. And that victory, it begins and ends inside. It's not what happens to you, but how you interpret and respond that defines your path. Life is not measured by events, but by the meaning we give those events. Two people can experience the same setback. One gives up, the other levels up. The difference isn't in the event. The difference is in perception. And that perception, your ability to frame reality on your own terms, is one of the most powerful tools you possess. You cannot always control what life brings your way. People will walk away. Projects will fail. Money will come and go. But you can always control the frame through which you see those experiences. A man loses his job and believes he's worthless. Another loses the same job and sees it as the spark to pursue his true passion. Same event, different meaning. One collapses, the other climbs. That's the power of perception. We've been conditioned to think that circumstances dictate our emotions. That if someone disrespects us, we must feel anger. If we fail at something, we must feel shame. If we're rejected, we must feel unworthy. But this is a lie. Emotions follow meaning, not events. The man who masters his mind chooses the meaning before emotion ever arrives. He decides in advance that rejection is redirection, that failure is instruction, that delay is preparation. He sees with different eyes, and so he walks a different path. Perception is the filter through which reality enters. If the filter is full of fear, insecurity, and blame, everything you see will look like a threat. You'll misread opportunity as danger. You'll see critics as enemies instead of as mirrors. But if the filter is clear, if your mind is trained to seek growth, to expect resilience, to find the lesson, then even the worst moment becomes a step forward. You become dangerous in the best way when you realize you can choose how to see things. Not in denial, not pretending that pain isn't real, that deciding that pain is not the end, that adversity is not personal, that your current obstacle is not your final story. People will call you unbothered, unaffected. What they're really witnessing is a person who has reclaimed the power of perspective. There is no success story without hardship, no great achievement without resistance. But those who succeed are not lucky. They are simply able to interpret struggle differently. They are not broken by pressure. They are shaped by it. They do not ask, why is this happening to me? They ask, what is this trying to teach me? That question changes everything. When you begin to shape your perspective with intention, life begins to respond differently. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming a creator of outcomes. You start seeing pain as part of the process, not a punishment. You understand that perception is not just a mental habit. It is a spiritual weapon. It protects your energy, guards your focus, and empowers your next move. In the end, the world can take many things from you, comfort, routine, approval, but it cannot take your ability to interpret events in a way that strengthens you. And when you control your perception, calmness is not weakness. It is, in fact, one of the highest forms of power a person can possess. In a world that constantly demands urgency, where people are quick to anger, quick to speak, quick to act without thinking, the man who can remain calm becomes a rare force. He stands out, not because he shouts louder than the rest, but because he doesn't need to shout at all. His presence alone speaks of control, of composure, of an inner confidence that cannot be shaken by temporary circumstances. Most people associate calmness with passivity. They think if you're calm, you don't care. If you're calm, you're disconnected. But true calmness is not the absence of care. It's the presence of mastery. It means you care enough to protect your energy. You care enough to choose the high road, the longer view, the wiser response. It takes far more strength to pause than to explode, far more discipline to think before you act than to act just to prove a point. Calmness is not avoidance, it's precision, it's strategy, it's leadership. Think about the most respected leaders in history, not the loudest, not the most emotional, but the ones who had the ability to think clearly under pressure. They didn't panic when the stakes were high. They didn't make emotional decisions in moments of chaos. They didn't turn to blood. Instead, they centered themselves, took a breath, and chose their actions with deliberate clarity. That is the power of calmness. It puts you in the driver's seat of your own mind. When others are drowning in reactivity, you are swimming in clarity. Calmness is also magnetic. It draws people in because it's rare. It inspires trust. When you are calm, others instinctively feel that you can handle more, that you can be relied upon when things go wrong. The people gravitate toward stability, and calmness is the root of all stability. Whether in relationships, business, or battle, the calm one is the one who holds the ground. The calm one is the one who sees what others miss, who plans while others panic, who executes while others overreact. To achieve this calmness is not natural, it is trained. It is built through habits of thought, through emotional discipline, through hours of internal work. You must learn to be the observer of your own mind. You must become aware of the triggers that pull you into fear, into anger, into frustration, and then slowly teach yourself not to follow them. You develop this calm by practicing restraint, by meditating when your mind wants to race, by speaking slowly when your ego wants to shout, by walking away when your pride wants to stay and fight a meaningless battle. This calmness becomes your armor. It shields you from manipulation. It protects you from emotional traps. When people cannot provoke you, they cannot control you. And when the world cannot shake you, you become immune to its chaos. That is the kind of power no one can give you, and no one can take away. It is self-built, self-earned, and self-sustained. And beyond all of this, calmness brings clarity. A calm mind is a clear mind. You cannot make intelligent decisions in the middle of a storm if your own thoughts are storming with it. But when you stay centered, the solutions come. The path reveals itself. Calmness allows you to think long-term, to act with purpose, to stay focused on the goal rather than the distraction. It is not just a virtue, it is a tool that separates the amateur from the professional, the emotional from the strategic, the reactive from the deliberate. People will try to pull you into chaos, not always out of malice, but because they live in it. They will test your patience, question your motives, insult your silence. But you must remember, your calmness is not for them, it is for you. It is your proof to yourself that you are no longer governed by emotion alone. You are governed by principle, by vision, by discipline. And when you master that calm, you become unstoppable. Not because you overpower the world, but because the world can no longer overpower you. detach, to dominate. It is not just a phrase, it is a strategy for personal power. Emotional detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop being controlled. Most people live as slaves to their emotions. Every opinion thrown their way shakes their confidence. Every delay in progress disturbs their peace. Every loss feels like the end. But the man who learns to detach, to observe without instantly reacting, to feel deeply without being ruled by what he feels, that man holds the real advantage. Detachment is not indifference. Indifference is apathy. Detachment is control. Detachment is what allows you to be in the world, to face challenges, setbacks, and chaos without being consumed by it. It's the space between what happens and how you respond. That space is everything. It gives you power, choice, and clarity. And when you master that space, you begin to move differently. You make better decisions. You respond with strategy, not emotion. You maintain your focus while others are losing theirs. Most people lose the game because they're too deep in it emotionally. They argue when they should be quiet. They take things personally that weren't personal. They let someone's mood swing dictate their own. They allow fear, jealousy, insecurity, or anger to cloud their judgment. And in doing so, they become predictable. They can be manipulated, provoked, steered off course. But the man who detaches cannot be baited. He sees through the fog because he isn't standing in it. He's above it, watching from a place of calm intelligence. You cannot dominate any arena, business, relationships, self-mastery, until you learn to remove your emotions from the decision-making process. Emotions are signals, not commands. Feel them, acknowledge them, but don't obey them blindly. Emotional detachment gives you the upper hand because it allows you to lead from logic, not impulse. You can see the bigger picture. You can say no when everyone else is saying yes. You can walk away from what doesn't serve you without hesitation or bitterness. To detach is to have your heart in the fight, but your mind above it. You are aware of the stakes, but not imprisoned by it. The outcome. You give your best effort without tying your entire identity to the result. This protects your energy. It allows you to play the long game. It keeps you sharp, resilient, and unshaken. Detachment also brings freedom. The man who is overly attached to how others perceive him will forever dance for approval. He will bend his truth to be liked. He will sacrifice his peace just to avoid conflict. But the detached man is not cold. He is simply self-directed. He doesn't need permission to be himself. He does not chase validation. He operates from principle, not public opinion. That makes him dangerous to small minds and magnetic to strong ones. Learning to detach requires practice. It means stepping back in moments when you want to jump in. It means not responding to every insult, not defending every opinion, not engaging every distraction. It means asking, does this truly matter to my vision, my purpose, my mission? If the answer is no, let it go. Protect your mental space like it's sacred, because it is. If you let every minor inconvenience enter your mind, you'll never have the clarity needed to move with power. Detach from the need to be right all the time. You do your work, you stay in alignment, and you let go of what you cannot govern. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. And from that wisdom comes power. When you detach, you see things as they are, not as your emotions want them to be. You stop fighting reality and start working with it. You become the one who cannot be shaken, who cannot be cornered emotionally, who cannot be dragged into chaos. You rise above the noise, not because you're better, but because you've trained yourself to value peace over pride, clarity over control, and purpose over petty emotion. And in doing so, you don't just survive the game, you dominate it. There is a quiet kind of power that comes from not explaining yourself. A man who has mastered himself does not need to justify his decisions to anyone. He moves with intention, not for attention. He speaks when necessary, acts when it counts, and keeps his reasons to himself. That silence is not arrogance, it is self-respect. It means he no longer needs approval to proceed. He no longer needs agreement to feel certain. He has done the inner work. And now his validation comes from within. Most people feel the urge to be understood. They want others to see their side, to approve of their choices, to accept their path. But that desire, if left unchecked, becomes a chain. It pulls them into endless explanations, justifications, and arguments. They spend their energy defending themselves rather than building themselves. But once you realize that not everyone deserves access to your inner world, you begin to move differently. You stop explaining yourself, not out of pride, but out of focus. Explanation becomes a trap when it's done for the wrong audience. There are people who ask questions not because they want to understand, but because they want to challenge, criticize, or control. And the more you explain, the more you invite judgment. You reveal your process, your fears, your strategies, and in doing so, you give away leverage. But when you act without broadcasting, when you move in silence, you leave no gaps to attack. You let results speak in a voice far louder than any explanation ever could. There is strength in mystery. When people can't predict your moves, they can't prepare against them. When they can't read your thoughts, they can't manipulate your direction. Keeping your intentions to yourself gives you time to develop them without interference. It shields your goals from outside doubt. It protects your momentum. A plan shared too early is a plan exposed. But a plan executed in silence is unstoppable. This mindset also teaches discipline, because when you no longer rely on praise, permission, or applause, you are forced to develop your own conviction. You follow through not because people are watching, but because you said you would. You become loyal to your own word, and that builds a rare kind of strength. You no longer need external accountability. You become your own authority. You will be misunderstood. People will question you. They may doubt your decisions, criticize your pace, or try to label you. Let them. The need to be understood by everyone is a weakness. Let your success be misunderstood for a little while. Let your silence disturb those who expect your constant explanation. That tension you feel, the one that comes when you choose privacy over performance, is the cost of freedom, and it is worth every ounce. Silence also reveals truth. When you stop explaining, you learn who really supports you. You learn who trusts your character, even when they don't know your reason. You learn who respects your right to choose, even when they don't understand your choice. That is invaluable, because the man who demands an explanation for every move is not following you, he is trying to control you. But the one who stands beside you in silence, that is someone worth keeping close. It is not about becoming cold or closed off. It's about being intentional with your energy. You don't owe everyone your story. Not every opinion needs a counter-argument. Not every question deserves an answer. The deeper your self-trust grows, the quieter your defense becomes. You start to live in alignment with who you are, not who they want you to be. You start to value your peace more than their approval. And eventually you realize the strongest man in the room is rarely the one talking. He's the one listening, observing, calculating, moving deliberately. He knows what is building, and he doesn't need to announce it. His silence isn't empty. It's loaded with vision, with strategy, with certainty. And when the time comes to speak, to act, to reveal, he does it with such clarity and force that no explanation is necessary. Because by then, his results speak the only language that needs to be heard. When you learn to act as if nothing bothers you, you are not pretending. You are mastering. You are not suppressing emotions. You are commanding them. You are building a foundation so solid that no wind of opinion, no wave of chaos, no flicker of doubt can shake your focus. The man who commands his thoughts, who chooses his perspective, who remains calm under pressure, who detaches from emotional traps, who moves without explanation, that man is no longer reacting to the world. He is shaping it. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. This is not performance, it is personal power. The world respects what it cannot rattle. And when you rise with quiet certainty, when you walk with internal steadiness, when you stop explaining and start executing, you will not need to tell anyone who you are. The results will do that for you.